Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. This I was reading through the TANAK night, the 27th of December, 2023. I'll be reading out of Second Maccabees out of the Apocrypha. I'm always reading and talking about First Maccabees, but I want to read out of Second Maccabees. Some information in there I want to shine a light on. You can go to our YouTube channel, Prophets of Awakening. Check out our videos. We have a lot of videos. They connect a lot of dots for people that are seeking the truth of the scriptures. If you like what you're hearing and receiving through these videos, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It'd be greatly appreciated. For those that want to donate, support the channel, we have Cash App on the bottom of the screen. Okay, and we on YouTube pretty much five days out of the week. It's Tuesday nights. We have a Bible study. That's from 8 to 10 Central Time on Tuesday nights. We come back on Wednesday nights, reading through the Tanakh. That's 8 to 10 Central Time. And then we have Women's Advanced Bible Study on Thursday nights. That's 8 to 10 Central Time. Then we come back on Friday nights for the Men's Advanced Bible Study, which is on Clubhouse. It's 8 to 10 Central Time. And the room on Clubhouse is non-Messianic Conversations. Then we come together on on Saturdays for our Shabbat. We have a morning Shabbat from 10 to 12 a.m. Central Time. Then we come back and close the Shabbat out from 6 to 7 Central Time, p.m. Okay. For those that don't know, this is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah, which is Tanakh being the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance, and the Torah is the first 5 books that was given to Moses by the Lord of Hosts. It consists of Israel's laws, statutes, their judgments, their culture. It's our way of life. Shalom and welcome to the channel, and welcome to our reading through the Tanakh. We're going to do our normal, which is a moment of silence. We'll read a prayer, Psalms. We have some current events, some need to know information. Then we'll open it up for some Q&A, questions and comments, dialogue for anybody that have anything. Then we'll go into our topic, which is we'll be reading out of Second Maccabees, expounding on that. Okay. This moment of silence is for the Lord of Hosts and all of these doing in these last days to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. It will bring us home. Okay. Oh Lord, we come before you at this hour, praising you and honoring you because of your position, both in heaven and upon the earth, the position in which the Creator Yahweh have given unto thee. And through your spirit and your counsel, oh Lord, we have awakened. We have awakened to know who we are as a people and who you are as our Savior and our Redeemer. And we are thankful for all that you have done. And we are eagerly searching the scriptures out that we may be in the right place at the right time upon your arrival to this planet. We love you and we seek you daily, O Lord. There is none else besides thee to redeem us. And we see you in the affairs of the world, and we faithfully await your deliverance. Peace be unto you. Okay. Read the Psalms. Okay. Okay. Read Psalms 132. Okay. Psalms 132 is a prayer for blessings on the sanctuary. It's a song of David, Asaph. Lord, remember David and all his afflictions, how he swore unto the Lord and vowed unto the mighty God of Jacob. Surely I will not come into the tabernacle of my house, nor go up into my bed. I will not give sleep to my eyes or slumber to my eyelids until I find out a place for the Lord, a habitation for the mighty God of Jacob. Lo, we heard it at Ephrata. We found it in the fields, in the woods. We will go into the tabernacle, and we will worship at his footstool. Arise, O Lord, into thy rest, thou and the ark of thy strength. Let thy priests be clothed with righteousness, and let thy saints shout for joy. For thy servant David's sake, turn not away thy face from thine anointed. The Lord hath sworn in truth unto David, he will not turn from it. Of the fruit of his body will I set upon thy throne. If the children or thy children will keep my covenant and my testimony that I shall teach them, their children shall also set up upon thy throne forevermore. For the Lord hath chosen Zion, he hath desired it for his habitation. This is my rest forever. Here will I dwell, for I have desired it. I will abundantly bless her provisions, and I will satisfy her poor with bread, and I will also clothe her priests with salvation, and her saints shall shout aloud for joy. There will I make the horn of David the bud. I have ordained a lamp for my anointed. His enemies will I clothe with shame, but upon himself shall his crown flourish. Anybody got any comments on that? Okay, so we see right here, you see a lot of people thinking that uh, it's something that they need to do, this to that and another. But if you look at chapter, the Psalm 132, uh, starting at verse 13, says, the Lord, the Lord of hosts, have chosen Zion. So we ain't choose it, he chose Zion, right? He have desired it for his habitation. Then he says, this is my rest. Zion is his rest forever. Here will I dwell, for I have desired it. And then right here, if you're thinking it's something you have to do, I will abundantly bless her provisions. He's gonna do everything. I will satisfy her poor with bread. I will also clothe her priests with salvation, and her saints shall shout aloud for joy. So we see right here, everything is on his shoulders. He's gonna do it, even to the point to bringing back his Messiah. In verse 17 and 18, he says, there will I make the horn of David the bud. I have ordained a lamp for my anointing. His enemies will I clothe with shame, but upon himself shall his crown flourish. So ain't nothing we gotta do but stay in this book and read, keep your eyes open. Okay?
Shalom.
All right.
Shalom.
Okay.
Yes, so it's nothing we have to do until when we are in our homeland, or we're back in the homeland. What we do prior to that, other than reading and studying, do
Read and
we?
study and stay abreast and
Yes.
keep the law and statutes the best way you can.
Okay.
The best thing is to get around some people that are, like-minded people, people that uh, you know, with an open heart, open mind to understand that what has happened to us is that, Psalm 83 tell you they says they denigrated our book, denigrated our understanding, denigrated everything about us as a culture. That's why we where we at.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So that's the priority is praying, studying, and like I said, being around like-minded people and just staying abreast on everything to the best of your knowledge, best of your ability.
Okay, so far as understanding that we don't need to um, worry about like you said, we don't need to worry about where our food comes from and stuff like that.
I mean, you're gonna deal with that, but it's the creator is providing it. But I mean, you still have to maintain yourself until he comes to get us. We
Yes.
understand the prophecies, right? Yeah.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Oh,
So that's where I was coming from. We still have to maintain for our what we're doing now,
right.
providing to make sure we stay healthy, eat, and um, keep our shelter and everything until the Lord has got us over, Lord of hosts has got us over into the, we'll say, promised land, and then we won't have to worry about any of those other things that we have over on the west, where we are
Exactly.
now. Okay.
Right. Okay.
Right, thank you.
So with that being said, we're gonna check out a few current events.
Right now to the United States, to Ukraine, to Gaza, to other countries as well, is very concerning. Because what we are now hearing is that world leaders are waiting to be attacked so that they can respond with a similar attack. How scary is that? And this is what most are saying, that they are just waiting. They're being patient. They do not want to attack first. They want to wait, see what's going to happen, see how this war escalates, and finally then, they may attack. This is exactly what we have seen from the Biden administration, is he is waiting. And once Iranian proxies attack the US troops, then he responds. But he doesn't respond with an appropriate attack. What he does is he picks the least effective, the one that is going to cause the least amount of damage and bodily harm, and that is the one he chooses. Now, what we continue to hear from Pentagon officials is that will not work, but Pentagon officials are now saying that's exactly the way the entire world has been operating. They're going to wait to be attacked first, and then they will respond, but not in kind. So we're going to see what happens moving forward. But what I can tell you is the fears of this war escalating are growing. So we're going to touch on that in just a moment. All I ask is one thing. It takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoyed these daily updates. And now, let's begin. So the first thing that you need to understand is that the fears are growing of a Middle East war conflict and the wider war. This is happening. Everybody is concerned that this war in the Middle East is going to escalate, and as it does, it's going to pull more people in. We have seen this with the United States. It was supposed to just be Israel and Hamas. Now it's Israel, it's Hamas, it's Hezbollah. Iran is jumping in. We are seeing attacks from the Houthis out of Yemen, the people in and ships in the Red Sea. That is a huge concern. We still have attacks between Russia and Ukraine. We also have the Japanese jumping in there. Again, a lot of concerns because these wars are starting to slowly widen. As they do, they pull more people in. Just to give you an idea, there is now it's called Operation Prosperity Guardian. It's a bunch of different countries joined together. They're going to go up and down the Red Sea and protect ships that are traveling through there. Well, here's the problem. There were originally there's about 9 countries that were going to be part of that, or the Operation Prosperity Guardian. However, that number ballooned up, and I believe it's now up to like 19 or 20 different countries, which means those countries are now pulled in to this war in the Middle East. Yeah, this is exactly how things work, and this is why experts say nobody is ready. Now, I want to show you something. Before, we thought Israel was going to only be attacking Hamas for potentially a couple months. Well, this article says Israel will not soon end its war with Hamas, officials say. Amid global pressures to reach a ceasefire and fears of a widening regional war, Israel says it will continue to fight in Gaza until Hamas is defeated. Now, we have known for quite some time that the Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, he stated that this war is going to go on until Hamas is done, until they are gone forever. Now, according to multiple officials, they do not believe Hamas will ever be gone forever. That yes, we could take down their leaders, we can take down the people in charge, but somebody eventually is going to step up and take the reins. Now, here's why this is very concerning. We were told by Israel that this war is going to last about 2 months. Then we were told by Israeli officials that the intensity of the fighting, which was very intense over the past couple of weeks, this was only going to last for 2 weeks, and then they were going to drop back down to their normal offensive. Well, guess what? It's only intensified. It's gotten worse, which is now pulling in and making the rest of the world see what's happening. That's concerning. Well, as this is happening, other countries are stepping forward and trying to create some type of negotiation. Just start the negotiation. Here's one of those countries, Egypt. Egypt is floating a plan to end the Israel-Hamas war. However, the proposal is not very receptive. The leaders are not very receptive of what's in the proposal. And here's what's actually in it. The Egyptian plan calls for a phased hostage release and the formation of a Palestinian government of experts to administer the Gaza Strip and occupied West Bank. Now, we have heard from U.S. officials in the past, they did not want to see Israel govern Gaza. That's one thing that they didn't want. They believe in a two-state approach, so that is something that they definitely want. But at the same time, Israel does not want to see Hamas take over. They don't want to see Hamas leading the area. So we're going to see what happens there, but all I can tell you is these attacks are going to continue until Israel pulls out and we see a ceasefire from Israel to Hamas and they pull out of Gaza. These wars are going to continue. These attacks in the Red Sea are going.
GMC Sierra. It's the truck.
Iran attacking U.S. troops is going to continue. Because even though U.S. troops have been in Iraq and Syria for some time, it wasn't until the October 7th attacks from Hamas to Israel that Iran started to step up their operation. And simply because they're telling us they want the United States to make Israel accept a ceasefire. However, we're not doing that, and that's one of the reasons why they continue to attack us. But again, that is just one attack. There's another attack on the United States, actually on the U.S. soil. And this is what some are saying could be more devastating than a war in the Middle East or a war between Russia and Ukraine. And it actually has to do with thousands and thousands of people. Look at this picture. This right here, they're calling it the Christmas Day Caravan. This is about 6,000 people. They're traveling up from South America, and they're coming into Mexico and hopefully heading into the United States. That is their plan. Now, their plan is to make it up to the border today. And it's because of a meeting that's happening today. Because Secretary Blinken and Mayorkas, they're traveling to Mexico as pressure grows on President Biden to act on the border. This isn't just from the American people. This isn't just from the Speaker of the House. This is from many lawmakers, from governors, from other people of other countries. Now, right now, especially in Mexico, people are traveling through Mexico trying to make it into the United States as fast as possible because they understand that if, especially over this next year, if former President Donald Trump is in charge and he becomes the new president, once he is sworn in, this open border policy is not going to be there. He's going to restrict the amount of people coming into the United States, essentially because we are losing a lot of our resources. We don't have the shelter in place to house thousands and thousands of immigrants. We don't have the food. We don't have the health care. We just can't do it. It's turning into a major problem. And now we're starting to see immigrants are complaining that there's too many immigrants. Think about that for a second. Now, it says Blinken and Mayorkas to press Mexican counterparts to drive down border crossings as Biden faces increasing pressure. Here's what's going on, and I think this is very interesting. And again, this is where we're going to face an attack before we respond to that attack. This is where some experts are saying the United States is being attacked, but slowly. We are seeing our resources be attacked. Shelter, right? Housing, food, healthcare, even jobs. What experts are telling us is that right now, people are coming into the United States and taking away critical shelter, affordable housing, which is limited at this time. But until we see that turn into a major threat, where now there's millions of people not getting what they need, that's the only time when we're going to see our administration do something about it. Well, what we are hearing is that President Biden is asking Mexico and the Mexican president to step up and to slow down the amount of people coming into the United States. And how can he do that? Well, it's pretty simple. First, you can make Mexico a little bit nicer, make it more inviting, where people stay in Mexico as opposed to trying to travel all the way into the United States. Well, that's seen as very unlikely. It's not something that's going to happen quickly. One thing that can happen very quickly is Mexico now starts to detain people down at their southern border. Strategy. So what they're essentially saying is that the Biden administration's plan is to make sure that we build up Ukraine so that Ukraine can handle any attack with Russia, any attack from another country. Ukraine can step up and do it. They don't have to rely on the United States. They can rely on themselves. Which
Any comments on that?
Shalom. That is really wow right there, because the fact that they're mentioning that we don't have enough resources to house the immigrants, not overlooking the homeless. So why do we have homeless people in, they have resources housing immigrants, and now it's not enough housing for the immigrants, but there were homeless people prior to the immigrants. So that's something very odd for them to, say we need to direct them to go and stay in Mexico, help Mexico out, where they are, the Mexicans are coming over, working and going back home there, and the homeless here are still resources for food, resources for housing. They're not helping them, but they're helping the immigrants.
Exactly. That's a bad idea.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else? Okay. There's another one right here.
The political landscape of the Middle East has been marked by conflict, alliances, and shifting dynamics for decades. One of the most enduring and contentious conflicts in the region is the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. In recent years, a significant development has taken place as Egypt and Gaza-Palestine have joined hands in a surprising alliance against Israel. This union has raised eyebrows and generated intense debates in international politics. This article aims to delve into the intricacies of this newfound alliance, exploring the historical context, the driving factors, and the potential consequences for the region and beyond. To understand the significance of Egypt and Gaza-Palestine coming together against Israel, it is crucial to delve into the historical background of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The conflict dates back to the mid-20th century, when Israel was established as a state, leading to the displacement of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians from their homes. This event, known as the Nakba, has remained a deeply rooted source of resentment and animosity among Palestinians. Egypt, for its part, has a complex history with Israel. The two nations fought several wars in the 20th century, but a significant turning point came in 1979, when Egypt became the first Arab country to officially recognize Israel's existence by signing the Camp David Accords. This move, under the leadership of Egyptian President Anwar Sadat, was highly controversial in the Arab world and led to Egypt's suspension from the Arab League for several years. The Gaza Strip, a small Palestinian territory along the Mediterranean coast, has been a focal point of conflict. Governed by Hamas since 2007, Gaza has experienced multiple wars with Israel, resulting in significant destruction and loss of life. Egypt, which shares a border with Gaza, has historically had a complicated relationship with the territory, occasionally serving as a mediator in ceasefires and peace negotiations. The recent alignment of Egypt and Gaza Palestine against Israel marks a significant departure from historical dynamics. This alliance has several key factors at play. One of the pivotal factors behind this alliance is the change in leadership within Egypt. In 2013, the Egyptian military, led by General Abdel Fattah el Sisi, ousted President Mohamed Morsi, a member of the Muslim Brotherhood. The Muslim Brotherhood had historically been supportive of the Palestinian cause and had a more confrontational stance toward Israel. El Sisi's government, on the other hand, adopted a more pragmatic approach, seeking stability and security in the region. Egypt and Gaza Palestine share common concerns related to security and stability in the region. Both have experienced the spillover effects of the Israeli Palestinian conflict, including violence, economic hardships, and the flow of refugees. This shared interest in regional stability has prompted the two entities to explore common ground. Hamas, the Palestinian political and militant organization governing Gaza, plays a central role in this alliance. Although designated as a terrorist organization by Israel and several Western countries, Hamas enjoys significant popularity in Gaza and has been a formidable force in resisting Israeli occupation. In particular, has been critical of the alliance and has raised concerns about Egypt's role in supporting Hamas. The Egypt Gaza Palestine alliance may impact ongoing peace efforts in the region. The United Nations and other international organizations have been actively involved in mediating peace negotiations between Israel and the Palestinians. The alliance could either bolster or complicate these efforts, depending on the actions taken by Egypt and Gaza Palestine. Stability in the Middle East is a delicate balance, and any significant shift in alliances or power dynamics can have far reaching consequences. The alliance between Egypt and Gaza Palestine may contribute to regional instability, particularly if it escalates tensions with Israel or other regional actors.
So we see right here, everybody making their move on to picking their sides, right? Any comments on that? So you keep hearing all the news reporters and the critics and everybody saying that 2024 is going to be horrible. So you comment. Okay, somebody got something?
Shalom. It's hard to pick the sides when they're not looking at the prophecy. They're they're going on man's word. They're going of the world, being, of this world because they're not looking at the prophecy of what's supposed to happen
Right, they don't know the
by
prophecy.
picking these right. And so they're by them in being out in the news and having this word spread and yes, people are being confused. People are grasping at straws. Where should we go? Should we stay with this? Should we fight the good fight here, or is the good fight there? They don't know.
Right. Yeah, that's the whole thing about what Esau have done. And that's why the Lord of hosts in these last days is going to target them because not only are they lied to us and got us food, got the whole world food. They didn't redirect his word to where he's not saying what he said. He's not saying what the prophet said. They didn't create their own scenario. And so everybody is going along with that, ignorant to the fact that, you know, it's not authentic. Yeah.
Yes, and shalom. And there, I haven't heard at first part of the year um, when they were talking about the Red Bull and all that. They were talking about the Antichrist, And now no one's, they're not mentioning anything about the Antichrist. They're no longer mentioning about the Red Bull. They're no more mentioning, the red heifer. They're not no more mentioning anything about building up the temple over there in Israel. They're not saying anything now. So what took that away from them going that direction to this direction here?
Is that a question?
Yes, sir.
Well, they're not concerned with they constantly manipulating people to their agenda, and they leading everybody away from. Even you have people that's looking at the scriptures and they seeing that it's not doing it's not going in that direction, but they still going along with it because the powers that be. They like sheep being led to the slaughter. I mean, you can show them uh, with all the information on JC. I mean, you got people still running behind him. And all the information is there. They always find some kind of way, some loophole to get out of it. Yeah,
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Welcome back to our channel.
yeah, this is some need to know information right here.
In this video, we will explore the lineage of Cush, a character mentioned in the sacred scriptures, who belonged to the descendants of Noah's grandchildren and great-grandchildren. We will delve into the history of Cush and examine the three main kingdoms that emerged from his lineage. Situated on the banks of the Nile River in the heart of Africa, a civilization thrived, enveloped in mysteries and remarkable achievements. This civilization, known as the Kingdom of Cush, left a lasting legacy that continues to resonate through the ages. Join us on a journey of discovery and understanding as we witness the impressive dawn of African history through the eyes of the three kingdoms of Cush. If you are already a subscriber, we genuinely appreciate your support. Leaving a like encourages us to continue producing weekly videos based on scripture for you. However, if you haven't subscribed yet, I invite you to watch our video until the end. If it resonates with you, consider subscribing to our channel so you won't miss out on upcoming content. Join us for another exciting video on our channel. The term Cush holds multiple meanings, referring to both skin tone and a geographical region associated with the descendants of the biblical character Cush. It likely signifies black or dark-skinned individuals and is connected to the African continent, particularly Sudan and Ethiopia. Cush played a fundamental role in repopulating the world after the flood. As the eldest son of Ham and one of Noah's first grandchildren, Cush was entrusted with the task of giving rise to diverse peoples and colonizing the New World following the destruction of the pre-flood ancient world. From the lineage of Cush, various nations, peoples, and tribes.
Yeah, so I wanted to shine a light on that, like, because I had talked about it. I think it was Saturday, but notice Ham got 4 sons, so they say, and he just said Cush the oldest. So how can that be when we read in Genesis? Let's go there. Go to Genesis, and you see that in chapter 9, I think it is. Go to chapter 10, 9, in verse 20. So the water receded, right? And said Noah and his sons got off the boat, right? And verse 20 says Noah began to be a husbandman. So that's right after the flood. Noah began to be a husbandman, and he planted a vineyard, and he drank the wine and was drunken, and he was uncovered within his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan. See that? saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brothers without. And Shem, and Shem and Japheth took garments and laid them upon their shoulders and went backwards, covered their father's nakedness, and their faces were backwards. And they saw not their father's nakedness. So we know right there was his mother is his naked, Noah's wife is his nakedness. So that's why they walking backwards and directing their face somewhere else because it's a woman laying there naked. But anyway, Canaan mentioned right here. So how can Cush be the oldest son? And then the whole thing is suspect because how is Canaan even Noah's lineage? I mean, in Ham's lineage. Let that ferment. Right after the flood, get off the boat. It says, "Cursed be Canaan." So Canaan there, Canaan. So how is Cush, firstborn? How he's in even Noah's lineage? Like I said.
Tribes emerged. Among these, the historical kingdom of Sudan, known as the Kingdom of Cush in antiquity, is one of the most prominent. This kingdom serves as tangible evidence of the connection between biblical history and geographic history. The Kingdom of Cush had two main urban centers, Napata and Meroe. Initially, Napata served as the capital, and the kings of Cush were often buried in pyramids in this city. However, the capital was later moved further south to Meroe. Similar to the ancient Egyptians, the Cushites built pyramids to honor their rulers and notable figures. These Cushite pyramids have distinct characteristics, differing from the Egyptian pyramids with steeper angles. Due to its geographical location, Cush played a crucial role in trade between the Mediterranean, Sub-Saharan Africa, and the Middle East. They controlled vital trade routes that crossed the desert, bringing them considerable wealth. This connection between the land of Cush and its descendants is mentioned outside of the Bible, as the people of the region referred to their land as the land of Cush, thereby honoring their biblical ancestor. The book of Genesis confirms that Cush was the son of Ham, who became the father of African peoples. This solidifies his importance in genealogies and the dispersal of peoples after the flood. Within ancient Jewish traditions, the term Cush is consistently associated with African peoples and is related to nations in Africa, such as Ethiopia and the region known as Nubia in antiquity. In the Bible, there are numerous mentions of the descendants of Cush, as well as the descendants of all of Ham's sons. One prominent name that appears frequently is Canaan. The Canaanites, for instance, were rivals and enemies of the Israelites. An interesting aspect of the Nubian people, who are descendants of Cush, is their complex relationship with the ancient Egyptians. While they often served as rivals, they also maintained a friendly relationship. In fact, there was even a dynasty of pharaohs of Cushite origin, known as the Black Pharaohs. This term refers not only to the African origin of ancient Egyptians but also to the noticeable differences in skin tone and features between Egyptians and Nubians. Egyptian sculptures depict Egyptians with a tan skin tone, while Nubians and Cushites are represented with darker skin tones, highlighting the physical distinctions between these groups. Another kingdom with roots in the lineage of Cush is Ethiopia, located on the African continent. The ancient Ethiopians are among the world's oldest peoples, supported both by scientific evidence and expert opinions. One notable period in Ethiopian history is the Kingdom of Aksum, which thrived between the 1st and 7th centuries AD. This powerful state controlled significant trade routes connecting the Red Sea to the interior of Africa. The city of Aksum, with its impressive obelisks and palace complexes, served as the capital. Ethiopia holds the distinction of being one of the world's oldest nations to adopt Christianity as its official religion. In the early 4th century, the kingdom of Aksum converted to Christianity and developed its unique form known as the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church. The church has played a central role in Ethiopian culture and society over the centuries. Both Ethiopians and Nubians are direct descendants of Cush, and references to individuals from Ethiopia and Nubia can be found in the original Hebrew and Aramaic biblical texts. The term Cush encompasses both Nubia and Ethiopia, making it challenging to determine the precise origins of individuals from these regions. This connection between the peoples of Ethiopia and Nubia as descendants of Cush is significant in the genealogies and historical traditions of the region, emphasizing the importance of these ancient civilizations in the history of Africa and humanity as a whole. Another historically significant people connected to the lineage of Cush are the Sumerians. They inhabited the region of Mesopotamia, situated between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, in what is now modern-day Iraq. The Sumerians emerged as one of the earliest complex civilizations in history, playing a crucial role in the development of society, culture, and writing. They organized themselves into independent city-states, with each city having its own government, legal system, and religious center. The Sumerians are renowned for developing cuneiform writing, one of the earliest known writing systems. They used clay tablets to record various information, including administrative records, contracts, and literary and mythological works. It's important to note that the Sumerians, descendants of Cush, should not be confused with the Akkadians, who are descendants of Shem, one of Noah's sons. The Sumerians, associated with Cush, had a significant impact on human history, and they even had a king who was a son of Cush. It's worth mentioning that the term Sumerian was not used by the Sumerians themselves to identify as a people. In their own language, they referred to themselves as Sag-Giga, which can be translated as blackheads or black faces. This description highlighted their Cushitic descent and the distinction of having darker hair and skin compared to neighboring peoples with lighter shades. Some scholars in the field of biblical studies propose that Nimrod, a son of Cush, may have been one of the early Sumerians in ancient Sumer. It is important to note that the descendants of Cush, including the Sumerians, were not confined to Africa but also inhabited regions in the east. While they may not have constituted the majority of the population, their presence and influence in these territories endured over time, even to the present day. An example that exemplifies this is the Sudanese Arabs of Cushitic descent. These Arab groups from Sudan trace their ancestry back to Nubia, located in Sudan and Ethiopia. Unlike the Semitic Arab groups, the Sudanese Arabs were originally Cushitic peoples who migrated and settled in the region, eventually embracing Islam. Throughout history, various Cushitic peoples can be identified as inhabiting the Middle East. One such group is the Kingdom of Sheba, whose population consisted of a mixture of Semitic and Cushitic peoples, resulting in a blend of cultural influences. The Kingdom of Sheba, also known as Saba, was an ancient civilization situated in the Arabian Peninsula, encompassing parts of Yemen and Ethiopia. Its strategic location along trade routes connecting the Mediterranean Sea, the Middle East, South Asia, and East Africa allowed the kingdom to flourish by controlling and taxing trade. One of the notable stories associated with the Kingdom of Sheba is that of the Queen of Sheba and King Solomon of Israel. According to biblical and Islamic traditions, the Queen of Sheba visited King Solomon in Jerusalem to test his wisdom and knowledge. There are debates surrounding the origin and appearance of the Queen of Sheba, with discussions about whether she was of Semitic or Cushitic descent. These cultural and ethnic mixtures often arise from geographical proximity and alliances between different groups.
Okay, any comments on that? Okay. We'll open it up for some Q&A. Anybody have any questions or comments about anything they heard or any research they want to share or something they're confused about?
Shalom. Now, with the Back to the 12 tribes, and within the two tribes that uh, went one way and 10 tribes went the other, was Gad um, one of the grandsons of Noah?
Yes. Well,
And
he wasn't a grand. Yeah, he was a great grandson.
the are there still um, people from Gad still living today of that heritage?
Why when you understand the story, I was talking about yesterday, the 10 tribes, the myth that the Esau created, that the 10 tribes came here to America, but they didn't come here. They went to. You gotta look at. He told them when they sinned, Moses sung a song to the Israelites before they left Mount Sinai, and it's in Psalm 32. I mean, it's in Deuteronomy 32. If you read that, he prophesied to them through that song all that was going to befall them. He said that they was going to go into the land, they was going to do good at first, then they're going to wax fat, and they're going to turn their back on the Creator. And he got judgments concerning them when they turned their back. So Esau turned their back. The 10 tribes turned their back first. So he brought the Syrians to take them out the land. You can't stay in the land and you're sinning against the Creator, against the Lord of hosts. You're gonna bring uh, a nation, a wicked nation there, and run you out. So the Syrians took the 10 tribes out. That was their judgment. Then the southern kingdom turned from him. He brought Nebuchadnezzar. So they had to go into captivity for 70 years in the Babylon because they wasn't allowing the land to rest. The Most High, Lord of Hosts, is connected to the land. The female part of the situation is the land. So because they wouldn't allow the land to rest, they were taken out. So I was reading in Second Ezra. This is what nobody seems to know. In Second Ezra, uh, I mean not in Second Ezra, but in Ezra. Go to Ezra and you'll see the Syrian kingdom is in. I mean the 10 tribes is in Assyria, and at the same time, the southern kingdom went into captivity under Nebuchadnezzar. So when Cyrus came, uh, not on that Nebuchadnezzar, he got 172 providences, and so each one of those providences at one time before Nebuchadnezzar came on the scene was a nation. So when Nebuchadnezzar came, conquering all of them, he made them providences because the king could no longer be the king, so he made them governors. That's why it says, that's why I call him King of Kings. So Syria is one of those providences. So all 12 tribes is under Nebuchadnezzar's authority. But nobody don't see that. So when Cyrus came and conquered the Chaldeans and turned Nebuchadnezzar or kingdom upside down, now Cyrus got control of all the 12 tribes. They just in different parts of his kingdom. The 10 tribes is in Shushan in the palace in Babylon, and the 10 tribes is over in Assyria. But they all under Nebuchadnezzar, all under uh, Cyrus' control. So let me read that. That's why you see me dealing with Daniel 9:25 all the time, because it says that they was going to come back in Daniel 9:25. Daniel, it was shown to Daniel that the Israelites was going to come back. And so let's look at it. So we see in Ezra chapter 1, it says, now in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, he didn't took over. Now he controlled this 172 provinces, Assyria being one of them, Nineveh. So he says, king of Persia, that the word of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah might be fulfilled, the Lord stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, that he made a proclamation throughout all his kingdom, and he put it in writing. Thus says Cyrus, king of Persia, the Lord God, the Lord of hosts, the Lord God of heaven, have given me all the kingdoms of the earth. See that? All the kingdoms, Syria included. That's what the 10 tribes is. And he have charged me to build them a house in Jerusalem. That's Daniel 9:25. He have charged me to build a house in Jerusalem, which is in Judea. Now here you go, verse 3. Who is there among you of all his people? Because he got all of them under his rulership. Like I said, it's just in different providences. So he says, of all his people, his God be with him. Let him go up. He's delivering the Israelites, all of them. Let him go up to Jerusalem, which is in Judea, and build the house of Lord God of Israel. He is the God which is in Jerusalem. So the Most High, like he said, I spoke it and he performed it. He brought it to pass. He brought Cyrus there, released them. But the 10 tribes said that we couldn't serve the Lord in our homeland. So they didn't go back. Some of them trickled back, but the majority of them went into the west coast of Africa, where the slave ships came in. That's where they was at. They went to the west coast of Africa. They didn't come back to after the judgment was over with. Just like we in a judgment. Then when we looking at the judgment gonna be over, and we got to go back. Well, when the time came where the judgment was over, or their time in Assyria, they decided, got all together, and they said we're going to another area where nobody lived at. And at that time, nobody was living. Africa was so big, nobody was living on the west coast of Africa. So that's where they went. They couldn't go to Egypt because he already told them when he delivered them out of Egypt. Egypt, you're gonna see no more. You're not gonna have to. I don't want you dealing with Egypt no more after he delivered them. So when they decided not to go back to Jerusalem because they couldn't keep their laws there, they went into the west coast of Africa. That's where the story get interesting at. So Esau had concocted this lie, this myth that they came here. That's what all these Negroes grabbed up to. But you ask the question, where Gad at? Gad, right to this day, is where they went. They're over in Africa, the west coast. Ephraim and all of them. Nigeria is Ephraim. Mali, Boniface, all these countries you see on the news now, them Israelites, part of 10 tribes. So they came back. Judah came, the southern kingdom came back to Jerusalem, and when you look at the book of Ezra in the King James, by the time Ezra got there, it was 3 waves. Zerubbabel and Joshua came back first. Then Nehemiah came. Then Ezra came. By the time Ezra got there, they was already intermingling and marrying people in the land, marrying the people of the land. They already had picked back up where they left off. So this time he brought the Greeks and kicked them out for good. So when the Greeks came, the southern kingdom, Judah, Benjamin, Levi already knew where the 10 tribes is at. That's why they went up to the top. They can't go back to Egypt. They went back up to the top of Africa up there, up around by where the Mediterranean at. And then eventually they made up their mind to cross the Sahara Desert. So they crossed the Sahara Desert because they knew on the other side of the Sahara Desert was where the 10 tribes was at. And they trickled over time, they trickled down into the west coast, and that's where all Israel was at. You had each one of those nations, because they actually 12 kingdoms. You had Judah, Benjamin, Levi on the west coast. They the ones that had to be taken and scattered over the whole world because they were the head. And that's when you see those slave castles and all that set up on the so-called Gold Coast, because that's where Judah, Benjamin, Levi was at. The predominantly majority of the 10 tribes, including Gad, they still there where they came when they left Assyria.
Yes, sir. So do they still speak the language, or they have went the language is gone, and now they're just speaking where
Well,
they are?
well, you have to look at what happened. Prophecy in Psalms 83 tells you that that all the nations got together to and conspired against Israel. They couldn't allow them to keep their history because they know, like the guy said in the book of Judah, he said that when they sinning, you can take them out, but when they calling on their God and they get right with their God, you can't do nothing with them. So they knew they couldn't leave them like that, or they couldn't leave them on the west coast of Africa like that. It wasn't up in a matter of time. They was going to reconnect with their God. So, like Psalms 83 said, Esau was the culprit. He was the ringleader, got with all the rest of the nations, and Ishmael. Esau and Ishmael was the ringleaders. Well, Esau the one created Christianity. That's what the 10 tribes been sucked into over in Africa today, and Islam. So the prophecy overtook them on the West Coast. They no longer know who they are because of Islam came, Christianity came, and was forced on them, beat into forced conversions, like they did us when we got here. They forced us into dealing with Christianity. We lost our
Yes, sir.
heritage, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else got anything? So all this, everything you see today is lies. Like I said, it was intentional. When they, like I said, the 10 tribe chart. That's some Negroes that these Edomites and got with and paid them to put that chart out there. And then the 10 tribes myth that they came over here to America. All that's Esau concocting all that because he trying to keeping all these distractions going on for the Israelites not to focus on them and the world not to focus. They want to keep the world ignorant to the fact that they imposters. Like the Most High said, is a whore in the last days in the land. Not the real woman, it's a whore there. So yeah.
Yes. Shalom. So I'm just trying to get a picture of this. So the ones that's in Israel right now, they had pushed out the real Israelites, and they're no longer there. But the ones who are there now are not the true Israelites. They're
Right.
just claiming to be. And by their faces and by the New Testament that drew everyone with the Catholics with this Christianity to believe it. So as we, like they say, believe half of what you hear and none of what you see, but they're
Exactly.
not doing that. They're what
Right.
they see and what they're hearing, they're believing it.
Right. They follow the narrative. Because like I said, they got to go back to the 18 years from the time you're born till you get 18 years old, you being indoctrinated. So you got to be called by the Most High in order to get out of that trap. So that's what that is. You've been programmed to whatever they say to believe it. But the Most High putting a spirit on this remnant. They're not going for that either. He opening their eyes up. So like I said, the um, Israelites left in 143 BC. I don't know if you didn't register yet, but they left in 143 BC, and that's how the Judah, Benjamin, and Levi ended up on the West Coast. The 10 tribes already was there. They went there after Cyrus released them. But Judah, Benjamin, Levi went back to fulfill Daniel 9:25, but they picked back up where they left. Then he brought uh, Antiochus. Let's look at that right quick. He says in Daniel 9, Daniel, just tied to Daniel 9:25. It says, so it pick up in Daniel 9:25, and it says, know therefore and understand that from the going forth for the commandment, that's what I just saw. The commandment came from Cyrus to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah. That's Zerubbabel, the prince, shall be 7 weeks, 2 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall, even in trouble time. That's what uh uh Zerubbabel, he came back and rebuilt the temple along with Josiah. Nehemiah came back and repaired the wall. Ezra came back. That's Daniel 9:25. Then 26. So you can't even deal with 26 if you don't know what the hell going on in 25. So it says 26 says, and just after they get back and build everything up, after 62 weeks, shall the Messiah be cut off. That was Zerubbabel. They got cut off. Those Samaritans sent a letter to Artaxerxes, to Darius, and told them they back in the land building the temple and they don't need to build it. So Artaxerxes cut Zerubbabel off for 2 years, right? Then it says, and after 62 weeks shall the Messiah be cut off. Not Yahushua, Zerubbabel, but not for himself. Then here you go. The people of the prince that shall come. That's Antiochus. The people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood. That was the Greeks. That's how Judah, Benjamin, Levi ended up on the West Coast. Antiochus came. So this when it not in 70 AD, this when Israel was kicked out of the land for good. And they went on the West Coast. So then from there is when the whore came in. The people don't know the depth of that. Esau was in the land and had built the temple. Herod, he's an Edomite. They had an Edomite king, and the Edomites living in the land of Israel, posing as Israelites. And the Lord of hosts broke that up in Malachi and brought the Romans and ran them out. And before they left, they said he was coming back. And through these world wars, World War I, World War II, the Balfour Agreement, they came back in 1948. And that's what nobody seemed to get. And when you tell them that, they don't know whether shit will go blind because they don't know nothing about the story. So that's where the drama coming in at. And so when you understand that, there's no way you can't ain't no son involved in that. You can't put no son in it. He ain't nowhere in the story. Okay,
Yes, sir.
right. So you can see that in, like I said before. I don't know where you read on that, but you can see that in First Maccabees. What happened when Antiochus came and ran the Israelites out? That's nowhere in the New Testament about that. They come from Nebuchadnezzar and go into the New Testament. They don't, nobody, Antiochus ain't being, that scenario is not even being included in it. So when Antiochus, when the Greeks came, they took all the gold stuff out of the temple too. They took the menorah and all the cups and dishes, all that out. So you got to ask yourself, where was the menorah, the Holy of Holies, where all this stuff was there during the time of Jesus supposed to be on the scene, and Caiaphas and all them. It's garbage. So yeah, anyway, so with that, you can see that in First Maccabees. You can read it, and it's good to read it and already understand that what's going on with it. Okay. Anybody else have any questions about anything they came across?
Shalom. So, it's the first Maccabees. I have the Supigrapha, Volume 2,
Right.
and that's where I will find it
You can
also.
find it in there, or you got the apocryphal books.
No, sir. I just got the Supergrapha.
Yeah, you can read it in there, but I mean it do you some good to get a pseudepigrapha because I mean they like I said you can get those used off of eBay for like $5 or $6 a pseudepigrapha. I mean apocrypha, apocrypha
Okay.
book.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else got anything? Okay, so yeah, like I was saying, the first Maccabees tells you what happened. That's why it's not in them. That's why it's not part of the they had a part of the King James Bible. Then they came back and took those pseudepigrapha books out because those pseudepigrapha books, I mean those apocryphal books, expose that lie, the story they told you about the New Testament. Right. So I'm gonna pick this up and start reading out of Second Maccabees. Okay. 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 It says to the Jews, to the Jewish brothers in Egypt, the Jewish brothers in Jerusalem, and the land of Judah, send greetings and wish you perfect peace. My God bless you and remember his agreement with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, his fruitful slaves, and give you all a mind to worship him and do his will with a stout heart and a willing spirit. This is what I just said when class first started. To the Jewish brothers in Egypt, the Jewish brothers in Jerusalem, and the land of Judah, send greetings and wish you a perfect peace. May God bless you and remember his agreement with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, his fruitful slaves, his faithful slaves, and give you a mind and give you. So it don't come, it don't, it ain't something you just get. He give you all a mind to worship him and to do his will with a stout heart and a willing spirit. You don't just get that. You don't get that on accident. It says, may he open your mind with his law and his willing spirit. May he open your mind with his law and his statutes and make peace and listen to your prayers and be reconciled to you and not forsake you in adversity. This is our prayer for you here. In the reign of Demetrius, in the 163rd year, we Jews wrote you in extreme distress that overtook us in those years. So this is about when they got ran out right here. This is when the real Jews got ran out. From the time that Jason and his men revolted from the Holy Land and the kingdom and set fire to the gateway and shed innocent blood. And we brought the Lord and we besought the Lord and were heard. And we offered sacrifices and meal offerings, and we lit the lamps and set out the presentation loaves, and you must keep the camping out of the festival in the month of Chesan, the 183rd year. So this is what a drama coming in. I want to show you this right here. I just mentioned First Maccabees. I want to read some out of First Maccabees, and then well, let me do this first. I'm gonna go to Daniel first, so we make this plain. So you go to First Maccabees. First Dan. You go to Daniel, and where I was just at, Daniel 9, right, verse 26 says, check it out. Daniel 9:26. After 62 weeks shall the Messiah be cut off. That was Zerubbabel. You got a letter from Darius and told him to stop building the temple. He cut Zerubbabel off. It ain't not JC, but not for himself. Then it says, the people of the prince shall come, shall destroy the city. Look, check it out. Destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end wars and desolations are determined, right? And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, just 1 week a year, 7 years. And in the midst of the week, 3.5 years, he shall cause the sacrifices and the oblations to cease, right? So we know what the oblations is, three times a day, in the morning, noon, and the evening, constantly. As long as the temple was there, they have to make those sacrifices. So he threw with Israel. So he's going to bring the Greeks to cut that off because he don't want to deal with them no more. His indignation became to a fool. So he says, and the end thereof, the end of the temple, the end of the Israelite nation, not the end of the world. It says, and the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end wars and desolations are determined, and he shall confirm the covenant, Antiochus. He shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifices and the oblations to cease, and for the overspreading of the abomination he shall make it desolate. See that? Make it desolate, even unto the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. So Antiochus came and cut the nation of Israel off, just like Daniel said. So now let's go back where I was just at. Then, well, I got to go to First Maccabees first. So this is the prophecy right here, what I just read in First Maccabees. It says, and it came to pass. What came to pass? What I just read. The prince that shall come. It says, and it came to pass after Alexander of Macedon, son of Philip, who had came from the land of Checham, had utterly defeated Darius, the king of the Medes and Persians, that he reigned in his stead, and as he had before time reigned over Greece. And he waged many wars. That's what we just read. Wars and desolations shall come. He waged many wars and captured fortresses, slaughtered the kings of the earth, and he made his way to the ends of the earth, and he despoiled a multitude of nations. The whole earth was silent before him, and he became exalted, and his heart was uplifted, and he mustered a very mighty army, and he ruled over the lands and rulers of the heathens, and they paid him tribute. Afterwards, he fell sick and knew that he was going to die. So he called in his distinguished servants who had been brought up with him, and he divided his kingdom among them while he was still alive. And Alexander had reigned for 12 years when he died. So here we go right here. His servants succeeded him. This is the 4 men in Daniel, four Edomites. His servants, that's king of the north, king of the south, king of the east, king of the west. His servants succeeded him, each in his own dominion. After his death, they all put on crowns, as did their sons after them for many years, and they did much evil in the earth. Then here we go to Antichrist. And there sprung from them a sinful shoot named Antiochus Epiphanes. This is the Antichrist, the son of King Antiochus. He had been a hostage in Rome. See that? That's the 4 beasts. It ain't came yet. A hostage in Rome, and he became king. This is the king of fierce countenance right here. In the 100, remember that date, in the 137th year of the Greek kingdom, 3rd beast, Greek kingdom. So this when he came. We just read Daniel said a prince is gonna come, and then from that he became the king. He was a prince at first. He was a prince in Rome, but he came. Now he's the king because his daddy died. Then it says, "Let us." It go to 7 years. Let us go and make a treaty. This is the treaty in Revelations. Let us go make a treaty, 7 years, with the heathen round about us. For ever since the time we became separated from them, many misfortunes have overtaken us. Then here they are right here. The plan. That's the 7-year plan. The plan seemed good in their eyes, and some of the people went eagerly to the king. Here you go. And they authorized them to introduce practices to the heathen. And they built a gymnasium in Jerusalem. They don't tell you all this. They built a gymnasium in Jerusalem in a heathen fashion, right? And committed to uncircumcision. See that? That's abominable. You got a covenant with them, and the covenant is in the circumcision. That's what he told Abraham. Now they committed to uncircumcision, and they disowned the holy agreement, and they allied themselves with the heathen, and they became slaves. All this is in 143 BC, long before they so-called JC came, right? And then when his rule appeared to Antiochus to be established, this is rule in Jerusalem. He conceived an idea of becoming king in Egypt, so that he might reign over two kingdoms. So he entered Egypt with a strong force and with chariots and elephants and a cavalry and a great fleet, and he made war with Ptolemy, this is the king of the south, king of Egypt, and Ptolemy turned and fled before him, and many fell wounded, and they captured the walled cities in the land of Egypt, and he plundered the land of Egypt. Now here you go, right here. This is what we just read in Daniel 9:26. After subduing Egypt in the 143rd year, see that? Antiochus turned back, came up against Israel, and entered Jerusalem with a strong force. And in his arrogance, he went into the sanctuary. This is what we just read, the abomination that make him desolate. You got to remember that. 143 BC, this is the abomination that make it desolate. And in his arrogance, he went into the sanctuary, took the gold altar, the lampstand for the light, and all the furniture, and all the table, the presentation bread, the cups, same thing Nebuchadnezzar did. The bowls, the gold censers, curtains, crowns, the gold ornamentation on the front of the temple, and he stripped it all off. And he took the silver and the gold and the choice dishes, and he took the secret treasures which he found. He took them all and went back to his own country. And he massacred the people and spoke with great arrogance. There go the Antichrist right there. Then it says, and there was a great mourning everywhere throughout Israel. Rulers and elders groaned, girls and young men fainted away. The beauty of the women was altered. Every bridegroom began to lament, and she that sat in the bridal chamber grieved. The very earth was shaken over its inhabitants, and the whole house of Jacob was covered with shame. So right there, that's the prophecy. It came to pass. Now we're gonna go to 2 Maccabees. And here go the lie right here. So it says, and I don't know if anybody know about that. You see the 9-branch menorah? Anybody seen the 9-branch menorah?
No, sir, I haven't.
Yeah, well, just start paying attention. It's 9 there, but you're not looking at it. So the people over there now, they got 9-branch menorah, right? So that's abominable. But anyway, it says, I'll start over again. It says, to the Jewish brothers in Egypt, the Jewish brothers in Jerusalem, and the land of Judah, greetings. So he's talking to Edomites. These Edomite whores. The whores back in the land now. And wish you perfect peace. May God bless you. Remember his agreement with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, his faithful slaves, and give you all a mind to worship him and do his will with a stout heart and with willing spirit. And may he open your mind with the law and his statutes and make peace and listen to your prayers and be reconciled to you and not forsake you in adversity. This is our prayer for you here. Now here you go. In the reign of, remember what just happened? In 143 BC, the abomination that make it desolate didn't already happen. So it says, this is the prayer for you here in the reign of Darius in the 100, look at this, 65th year. We Jews wrote you in extreme distress that overtook us in those days from the time that Jason, they ain't no Israelite, Jason and his men, look at this, revolted from the Holy Land and the kingdom and set fire to the gate and shed innocent blood, and we brought the law, and we besought, look at this, the Most High through with them. You know, already Daniel gave him the prophecy came to pass. He didn't cast the Israelites off. Now look at what this clown saying. And we have besought the Lord and were heard. And we offered sacrifices. We already had the abomination of desolation. He didn't stop the oblations. The one in the morning, evening, and in the night. They didn't stop it. Jerusalem is desolate. The Israelites gone. So he says, and we besought the Lord and were heard, and we offered sacrifices and meal offerings. To who? And we lighted the lamp. They took all the lamps. They took all the ornaments, all the stuff, the furniture out of the temple. It's gone. So he says, and we lighted the lamps and set out the presentation loaves, and says, and you must keep the camping out festival. This is the festival of booths. Camping out festival in the month of Chesim. And look at this, in the 188th year. Those who are in Jerusalem and those who are in Judah and the Senate and Judas sent greetings and good wishes to Arebius, the teacher of King of Ptolemy, who was of the stock of the anointed priests, and to the Jews in Egypt. I told you about, they can't go to Egypt no more. Every time the group went to Egypt after they had came out of Egypt, he killed them. So these Edomites, posing as Israelites, this is where it started. So in 70 AD, these people was ran out. And like I said, they say, we coming back. Though you kick us out, we're going to come back. And they found their way back in 1948 through a series of 2 world wars. They ended up making this deal with the British with the Balfour Agreement. And they came back, and now they back over there. So it says, these who are in Jerusalem and those in Judah and the Senate and Judas send greetings and good wishes to Arebius, teacher of King Ptolemy, who was of the stock of the anointed priests, and to the Jews in Egypt, as we have been saved by God. Look at this. We have been saved by God from great danger. How you saved when he catch you off? Daniel just told you that he threw with y'all. His indignation came to a fool. Who are these people? Right? So he says, we offer devout thanks to him as men who array themselves against the king. For he drove out those who arrayed themselves against him in the holy city. For when their leaders reached Persia with an army about him that seemed irresistible, they were cut down in the temple of Mina, right? And through treachery on the part of the priest of Mina, I don't know that word, Mina, for Antiochus, here you go, for Antiochus with his friends came to the place on the pretext of marrying her in order to get a large sum of money by the way of dowry. And when the priest of the temple of Mina had brought out the money, and he had come with a few followers inside the wall of the temple enclosure, they shut the temple when Antiochus had gone in and opened the secret door in the ceiling and threw stones and struck down the leader and dismembered him and threw their heads to the people who were outside. Blessed is every way be of our God who brought the impious to justice. As we are about to celebrate, here you go. This is where the 9 branch menorah comes from. As we are about to celebrate purification of the temple. So right here, on the 25th day of the month of Chesim, we think it necessary to inform you so you too may observe the camping out festival and the kindling of the fire. When Nehemiah, who had built the temple and the altar, offered sacrifices. For when our forefathers were being taken to Persia, the pious priests of that day took some of the fire on the altar, hid it in a secret in hollow of an empty cistern, where they made it secure, so the place was unknown to anyone. Many years after, when it pleased God, Nehemiah was commission of the king of Persia and sent the descendant of the priest who had hidden the fire to get it. But when they reported to us that they could not find any fire but only muddy water, he ordered them to dip some out and bring it to him. And when the thing to be sacrificed had been put in place, Nehemiah ordered the priest to sprinkle the water on the wood and the thing that was laid on it. And when this was done, and some time had passed, the sun, which had been clouded out over, shone out, and a great blaze was kindled, so that all wondered. And the priest uttered a prayer when the sacrifice was being consumed, and the priest and all present, Jonathan leading the rest, responded as Nehemiah did, and this was the prayer: O Lord God, creator of all things, who is terrible and strong and upright and merciful, who alone as king and good, the only patron, who alone are upright and almighty and eternal, who saved Israel from every evil, who chose our forefathers and sanctified them, accept this sacrifice on behalf of all your people Israel, and watch over your atonement and make it holy. Gather together our scattered people, set at liberty those who are in slavery among the heathen. Look upon those who are despised and abhorred, and let the heathen know that you are our God. Afflict our oppressors, and those who are violent in their arrogance, and plant your people in your holy place, as Moses said. So, see, he way off track because he already told him he threw with them. He didn't cast them out for 2 days. So these supposed to be priests, and they praying to the Creator. They don't know prophecy what Daniel prophesied. The abomination of desolation already happened, and you talking about gathering the people back together. Let's look at that. Okay, so when you go to Hosea, right, it says Hosea chapter 6, Hosea chapter 6, verse 1. It says, "Come, let us return unto the Lord, for he hath torn." See that? He will heal us. He have smitten, and he will bind us up. After 2 days will he revive us. In the third day he will raise us up, and we shall live in his sight. So 1 day with the Lord is 2,000 is 1,000 years. So what are he praying about? And saying he made us, he rededicated the altar. When Daniel's saying it's abomination of desolation, Antiochus already came and destroyed the temple. The 10 tribes is on the west coast of Africa, and Southern Kingdom on the west coast of Africa. Same thing in Acts. Let's look at Acts right quick. Check this out. Let's go to Acts. This the crazy part about it. You show Negro this, and then you still want to. You can't mention JC, Paul, none of them people. It's crazy. So we in Acts. Look at this. It says day of Pentecost. It says, and when the day of Pentecost, verse chapter 2, when the day of Pentecost was fully come, they were all on one accord in one place, and suddenly there came a sound from heaven as a rushing mighty wind, and it filled all the house where they were sitting, right? And there appeared unto them cloven tongues like the fire, and set upon each of them, right? Okay, let me see. Okay, yeah, I read all this. And they were all filled with the Holy Ghost and began to speak with other tongues as the Spirit that gave them utterance. And there was a dwelling in Jerusalem of Jews. What Jews? There was a dwelling at Jerusalem of Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven. So they've been regathered. When we just read in Daniel, he didn't scatter Israel. He didn't cut his indignation came to a fool. Abomination of desolation. Ain't no Jews there. And it's right there. See that? In verse 5, there were dwelling at Jerusalem. Come on. Jews, devout men out of every nation. So, like I said, this is just something the clown wrote. He just wrote this. That's all he did. So said now when the noise was abroad, the multitude came together and were confounded, because that every man heard them speaking his own language. And they were all amazed and marveled, saying one to another, Behold, are not all these men Galileans? And how hear we every man in our own language, when we hear in every man in our own language when we were born. Then here go again. 9. I can't say these names. It's Carthaginians, Medes, Elamites, and the dwellers in Mesopotamia, Judah, Cappadocia, Pontus, and Asia, uh, Phrygia, Pamphylia, whatever it is, Egypt, Cyrene, all this. So this is regathered. They've been regathered out of all the nations. That's what he's telling you when you read that. Just let that front me. Come on, man. So, like I said, when you see this and this is broken down, I mean, it's something wrong with you if you want to keep on dealing with that. So it says, I'm in Second Maccabees. Let's see where I was at. Okay, I'm just pick it up in 31. The priest struck up a hymn, and when the thing that was sacrificed was consumed, Nehemiah ordered them to pour the water that was left on the large stone. And when this was done, a flame was kindled. But when the light shone back from the altar, it went out. And when the thing became known, and the king of Persia was told that in the place where the priests were deported they had hidden the fire, water had appeared, and with it Nehemiah's people had burned up the thing they sacrificed. And the king, after investigating the matter, made the place a sacred enclosure, and the king exchanged many different gifts with his favorites. Nehemiah people called this Nephilah, which is translated purification. So this is what Nehemiah did, because Nehemiah was in accordance with prophecy when he done it. And they purified it because they was supposed to go back. Daniel had already prophesied that they was going to come back and rebuild the temple. So Nehemiah went through the purification process, and the Lord of hosts acknowledged it. So it keep going. It says, it is also found in the records that the prophet Jeremiah ordered those who were carried away to take some of the fire, as had been described, and that after giving them the law, the prophet charged those who were carried away not to forget the Lord's command and not to be led astray in their minds when they saw gold and silver idols and their ornamentations. And with other similar exhortations, he told them that the law should not pass from their hearts. It was also in the writings that the prophet, in obedience to the revelation, gave orders that the tent and the ark should accompany him, and that he went away to the mountain where Moses went up, and behold, God's inheritance. And Jeremiah came and found a cave dwelling, and he took the tent and the ark and the incense altar into it, and he locked up the door. And some of those who followed him came up to mark the road, and they could not find it. But when Jeremiah found it out, he blamed them and said, "The place shall be unknown unto God, gathers the congregation of his people together and shows his mercy. Then the Lord will show where they are, and the glory of the Lord will appear, as they were shown in the days of Moses." And when Solomon asked that the place might be made very sacred, it was also stated that he, in his wisdom, ordered a dedicatory sacrifice at the completion of the temple. And just as Moses prayed to the Lord, and the fire came down from heaven and consumed the offering, so Solomon also prayed, and the fire came down and burned up the whole burnt offering. And Moses said, because the sin offering had not been eaten, it was consumed. In like manner, Solomon also kept the 8 days, and the same thing was related also in the records and the memoirs about Nehemiah. So here we go with the 8 days. We go back to what I was telling you. 6 days you work, keep a Sabbath, then an 8th day. We see the same thing in the Genesis when he created Adam. 6 days, then he rested. Then on the 8th day, he formed Adam. That's why I'm calling him the 8th day man. So anyway, it says, in like manner, Solomon also kept the 8 days. The same thing was related also in the records and the memoirs about Nehemiah, that he founded a library and collected the books about the kings and the prophets and the works of David and the royal letters about sacred gifts. In like manner, Judas, here we go. This how they slide these Edomites. They slide them in with our forefathers. In like manner, here we go. Remember, abomination, desolation already taken place. In like manner, Judas also collected for us all books that have been sacred because of the outbreak of the war, and they are in our hands. So they're not in our hands. So if you want them, send me and get them for you. Send me to get them for you. So we are about to. Here you go. So not Judas. They didn't hoodwink you by mentioning Moses, Nehemiah, and Jeremiah, them prophets, them our forefathers. Now they slid Judas in here. Now look what he gonna do. The abomination already, desolation already took place. So as we are about to celebrate purification, see that? We write to you, please observe these days. It is God that has saved all his people and given them back their heritage and their kingdom and the priesthood and the consecration. And he promised through the law, for in God we have hope that he will speedily have mercy on us and gather us together from under heaven to the holy place, where he has delivered us from the great misfortunes that has purified the place. Now the story of Judas Maccabees, see that? These Edomites. Now the story of Judas Maccabees and his brothers and the purification of the great temple. See that? And the rededication. Come on. You already had the abomination of desolation. And the rededication of the altar. And also the wars of Antioch Epiphanes. See that? I ain't write this. And the wars of Antioch Epiphanes and his son Antipas, and the heavenly manifestation shown to those who zealously champion the Jewish religion. So the few as they were, they plundered the whole country and drove out the barbarian hordes and recovered. Look at this. These Edomites, these supposed to be Jews, Israelites. They drove out the barbarian horde, recovered the world-renowned temple, and freed the city and restored the law, which were on the point of being destroyed, since the Lord and the great forbearance had been shown mercy to them. All this as related as Jason of Syrian in 5 books. And we will try to condense it into one volume for in the view of the flood of statistics and the difficulty created by the abundance of the material. For those who wish to plunge into the historical narrative, we have aimed in attracting those who like to read and making it easy for those who are disposed to memoirs and to bring use of all the readers for us who have taken upon ourselves the painful task of abridgment. The thing is not easy, and it takes sweat and midnight oil, just as it is not easy matter for a man who prepares a banquet and strives to benefit others. Still, to win the gratitude of so many, we will gladly endure this painful task, leaving historians the investigation of details, of taking pains to follow the lines of impotence. For as the builders of the new house must have the whole structure in mind, while the men who undertake to dedicate or to decorate and paint it as only to seek out what is suitable for the adornment. So I think it is with us to enter upon the subject and discuss the matter fully and elaborate the details and the task of the original historians, but one who rewrites it must be permitted to seek brevity and expression and go far to go the labored treatment of the matter. Here then, let us begin. Here you go. Here then, let us begin the story without adding more to what has already been said, for it is foolish to write a long preface to the history and then abbreviate the history itself. When the holy city was inhabited in perfect peace and the laws were strictly observed because of the piety of Onus, this ain't no Edomite, this ain't no Israelite, the high priest, and his hatred of wickedness, it came to pass that even the kings themselves did honor the place and glorify the temple with most noble gifts, so that even Seleucus, king of Asia, from his own revenue provided all the expense of sacrificial service. But a man named Simon of the tribe of Benjamin, who had been appointed governor of the temple, had a difference with the high priest about the conduct of the city market. And when he had failed to carry his point against owners, he went to Apollonius of Tarsus, who was at the time governor of Syria and Phoenicia, and reported to him that the treasury of Jerusalem was full of such untold quantities of money that the amount of the funds were beyond compilation, and that the thing that they did not believe on the account of the sacrifices that they might fall under the control of the king. And when Apollonius met the king, he informed him the money had been pointed to him, and he appointed Helidorus, who was his counselor, and sent him instructions to the effect that the removal of this money. Herodotus immediately set out on his journey under the guise of visiting the town of Syria and Phoenicia, but in reality to carry out the king's design. So, like I was saying, when he reached Jerusalem, he had been, I don't know that word, welcomed by his high priest and in the city, and he laid before them the disclosure that had been made to him, and he explained why he had come, and he inquired whether this was really true. And the high priest pointed out some of the deposits belonged to the widows and the orphans, and one belonged to Hyrcanus. If you don't know who that guy is, do your research. Hyrcanus is supposed to be, he's listed in David lineage when you go into Joseph, from Joseph and Mary. Hyrcanus, and son of Tobias, a man of very high position, so falsely had the impious Simon spoken that it all mounted for 400 talents of silver and 200 talents of gold, that it was absolutely impossible that those who were relying on the sacredness of the place and on the sanctity and invulnerability of the temple, which was respected all over the world, should be wrong. So, like I said before, this right here, how they brought us into the New Testament. They said these Maccabees was Jews, and they rededicated the temple. But we see in Daniel that Antiochus came and he destroyed the temple, and the end was with a flood, and it was desolate for 2,000 years. So that's how they brought the Edomites in right here and got you thinking they Israelites. Let me give you one more place, and then see if anybody got any questions or comments. So I'm in Daniel again, and another second witness. So I'm in chapter 8. Daniel had a dream about the ram and the he-goat. So I'm gonna pick up the interpretation that Gabriel gave in. He says, and it came to pass when this is Daniel 8 and 15. It came to pass when even I, Daniel, had seen the vision and sought for the meaning, then behold, there stood before me as the appearance of a man, this Gabriel. And I heard a man's voice between the banks of the Uriah, which called and said to Gabriel, make this man understand the vision. So what he making him understand is what happened in the first Maccabees, right? So he says, and I heard a man's voice between the banks of Uriah, which called and said, Gabriel, make this man understand the vision. So he came near where I stood. And when he came, I was afraid. I fell upon my face. But he said unto me, understand, O son of man, for at the time of the end shall be the vision, end of Israel as a nation, not the end of the world, because we still here. So he ain't talking about the end of the world. He says, at the time of the end, understand, son of man, for at the time of the end of Israel. He threw with them. He delivered them out of Babylon, and they came back with the same shit. So he threw with the nation of Israel, the temple, and the land. He's going to get the Israelites out of the land of Israel. So he says, 18, now, as he was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep on my face toward the ground, but he touched me and set me upright. And he said, behold, I will make thee know what shall be the last end of indignation. See that? For the time appointed, the end shall be. The ram is the second beast, which thou sawest having two horns, are the kings of the Medes and Persians. And the rough goat is the king of Grecia. And the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king, it's Alexander. Now, Alexander died. They killed him. They poisoned him. Now that being broken, Alexander was killed. Whereas four stood up. As I told you, king of the north, king of the south, king of the east, king of the west. It says, now that being broken, four stood up, four kingdoms stood up out of that nation. So the Greek kingdom now is divided into four parts. There's one kingdom because it got four kings, there's four different parts to it. All this had happened already. 22. Now, that being broken, whereas four stood up for it, four kingdoms shall stand up out of that nation, but not in his own power. And in the latter times of their kingdom, the Greek kingdom, not the four beasts, in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to a full, a king of fierce countenance is Antiochus. I told you, Daniel 9:26 says he a prince, but then he was a prince while he was in Rome. They released him, then he became king. This king right here says, says, and in the latter times of their kingdom, when the transgressors come to a full, a king of fierce countenance, understanding dark sentences shall stand up. That's Antiochus, and his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. He shall destroy wonderfully. He shall prosper, practice, and he shall destroy the mighty and holy people. That's the Israelites. They're the holy people. And Antiochus did that. Then 25. And through his policies also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart. Arrogant. We saw that in Maccabees. And by peace he shall destroy many, and he shall also stand up against the prince. See that? Prince or prince. That ain't Yahweh. But he shall be broken without hand. So Michael killed him. That's in First Maccabees. So we see right here, it's garbage. Everything you're looking at in the New Testament is garbage, and what they're doing over here with this second Maccabees. That's how they brought the Edomites in, got you thinking the Israelites to make the story, to synchronize the story like that. Then nobody knows that the Israelites ran out. We want you to think the Israelites got ran out in 70 AD, but they had been gone. Right here, Daniel tells you that. Okay, any comments?
Shalom. So what they did was change the uh, faces and names,
Right,
replace them.
right. They don't even
And
have
what
Israelite names. All
They're
the people,
replacing.
yeah, all the people we looking at, they ain't Israelite names,
No, sir. Right.
just like in the New Testament, Paul, Peter, them ain't no Israelites.
No. And matter of fact, they came on the scene like in Acts, like you were saying. That whole chapter was, I mean, JC was already gone in
Right.
there. So how can they repeat something or create something that was not there no more?
Right. They had to do that in order to bring in JC.
And then if you look at any of the new um, printed Bibles now, they having in uh, parts of the Old Testament, Jehovah, they
Right.
having, you know, saying those names,
Oh
which
yeah.
they couldn't even, I mean, how can they place him in there if he's going to be there and then be born in Matthew?
Oh yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Then when you see you see the role of the Lord of hosts, where he at in that? In his where he at in the New Testament?
Right.
In Revelations, who is a all of a sudden now it's a lamb on Mount Zion. Well, what the hell? What the Lord of hosts gonna do? He dwell on Mount Zion. He's just
Hmm.
gonna he just sitting back on a rock.
No,
Come
but they
on,
want you to believe it.
yeah. You think so?
Yes.
It's
I guess the
crazy.
thing, if you continue to drill and I'll say play the song over and over and
Right,
over, one just going to hear the tune and then go along with the words because they're
right,
not really listening at the words, they're listening at the tune. So keep saying something over and over again,
right,
and they won't read it because when they go to those services, they jump to the New Testament, go back and then back to the Old Testament, back to the New Testament. So
right,
now you just know the new. And
right,
what's going on in the world today, you'll hear them speak on it's going to happen. We're going to, put your tithes. They don't talk about prophecy. They just keep talking about giving money, giving money, giving
right,
money.
right,
You'll be blessed. And this is call in the name of JC, and he will take your prayers to the Lord, to
oh, yeah,
God. Yeah, you
exactly,
call on that name. So I'm thinking if you continue to call on that name, you're just amplifying Esau.
exactly. And then you just talking loud, ain't saying nothing because he ain't there. He's gonna cut you.
Yeah. And the Lord of hosts ears are shut off from you because of what are you saying? You're not calling on him, you're calling on JC
Right,
and wanting him to make miracles happen or whatever you praying for.
exactly.
It takes a long time to get out of that.
Oh
But
yeah,
like you said, the Lord of hosts will choose you, will enlighten you, and it's up to you because He gave us the will of choice to continue to thrive and thirst for this word and to,
right, exactly,
get it right.
right. You got a process. It haven't changed. It ain't changed. You got the angels, and we see the angels dealing with the prophets, and then it's trickled down like that. That ain't changed. Same thing still going on now. Now you waking Israel up, it's the same way. The angels on the move. He dealing with certain people. He dealing with. That's how it got. That's how it comes. He say he gonna wake him up. That's how he wake him up. It ain't changed. That's the crazy part about it.
Yes, sir. And Shalom. Yes, sir. And Esau wants to rock everybody back to sleep with the
Right.
JC. Rock
Oh
them
yeah.
back to sleep, and they're getting all these prominent people that they think is saying the right thing, and
Right.
um, wasn't for those mega churches, but he's revealing them. There's so much going on that how he reveals um, Creflo Dollar,
Right.
the TDJs,
Right.
Joe Osteen, all these prominent mega church preachers are
Oh
getting
yeah.
revealed.
Exactly. And then you gotta look at it. It's like I say, it's the genius of Esau. You gotta look at the fact that he said, we was reading in Ezra, when Ezra came and stood before the people, tore his garment up because they had intermingled amongst the nations, and he said to gather yourselves in Jerusalem and near the temple in 3 days, and the ones that don't come are gonna get discontinued as Israelites. So they all came there, and then Ezra had all these priests with him. And then the scripture says that those priests caused the people to understand. People reading on past that. So look at the boule today. They using the boule Negroes to cause the people to believe to go for this JC thing. And
Yes,
now people tuned in on JC, they got Negroes hollering Yahweh Shai.
yes, and
Because
making
they
them
got
think.
the ability to make the people understand.
Yes.
He's giving that to them.
hmm
Right.
Give him uh, the the language or the word Yahweh. So they said, well, that could be a Hebrew word. Yes, that is
Right.
right. And now we're knowing the language. You're not knowing the language. They're giving you a language for you to respond to.
Right. Just saying.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we're at 2 hours. Anybody else got anything? Okay. We're gonna have the women's Bible study tomorrow at 8 o'clock. I'll see everybody then.
Yes, sir. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Shalom.
Shalom, shalom, everyone.
Shalom.